BB and LJ coming to you today. This episode is going to be different than the ones we've done in the past. I am going to be doing the intro and wrapping up at the end, and LJ will be sharing the story of the death of our brother. I know that may sound strange considering that we've been talking about my son's suicide all this time, but as you listen to this podcast, I'm hoping that you'll be able to see the connection as she tells the story. But before we get started, as usual, I would like to say if anybody is having suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideations, to please call 988 for help, support, and advice. And do not wait, but please call and ask for any help that you need. LJ?
I want to begin a little with a segment as promised from last week about our brother. He died 2 years ago and at only age 55. He was 6 years older than me, and due to my parents having me late in life, he helped raise me. My parents were older and sick a lot and in and out of the hospital, and there's more to those stories in the hindsights and later episodes to come discussing, family member traumas from different perspectives and other relatives. Anyway, as I said before, he stepped up and he took care of me. He got me breakfast, he got me to school, and he kept me safe. And as he and I got older, our roles changed a little. He was having trouble with his latest wife and her family members. He moved in and out of my home throughout the years when he needed separation from that tumultuous situation. We were family and did what we could to be there for each other. It then began where he started abusing alcohol to the extent it was harming him very negatively. He became extremely depressed and seemed to be on a fast course to death. His wife ended up passing away shortly after this extensive alcohol abuse, and his depression sunk worse. He was a proud man and would not allow our family to help him, not even his children, who loved him so very much. And our other sister also stepped in and tried to help, but to no avail. And he told me once, through this long process at the end, that he wanted to die, but then he didn't want to have to pull the trigger, so to speak. I realize these may be harsh words for some to hear, and I apologize, but it is what was said, and in hindsight after his death, I knew all too well what he meant and what those exact words meant at that point. Loss of life, on a mission to see it end, and quickly. And my heart hurts so badly because he obviously succeeded. If I could back up just a little, I will tell you that I did not have the best relationship with his wife. Once while staying with me, he had gotten so inebriated that he fell, all 6'1" of him, several times, but on one occasion specifically, he fell in the middle of the night in the downstairs restroom, and I heard the loud bang around 3 a.m. I ran down the stairs to find him on the floor bleeding, and his forehead had a huge outward hematoma, a goose egg, if you will, and I begged to call 911. He begged equally hard not to have me call 911, and he was conscious and aware, and the swelling was outward in the skin and not inward, so I gave him till morning to see how things looked and how his demeanor was. When I awoke again at 5 a.m. to get ready for work, he was up and making breakfast and apologized, and other than bruising, he seemed alert and better, even sober. Now, I worked about 10 minutes from home and took an early lunch to run home to check on him. To my upsetting dismay, his wife was there, who was not allowed in my house due to their current separation situation. Once I walked in my door, I noticed 6 police cars show up and demand I leave my own home due to the fact that my sister-in-law, who wasn't even allowed in my home, had called the Department of Children and Family Services in addition to the police for elderly abuse. I was devastated and numb. I was angry. I was sad and confused. Thankfully, our brother was able to clearly state, while I was out the road across from my own home, that what happened had nothing to do with me, that his fall was his own fault and the bruising and so forth. That took a very large toll on my emotions, and I felt I had no choice but to make him leave, to stay with our other sister, who stepped up to take him for a while, thank God. I still had children of my own that could have possibly been negatively affected by the resources his wife took from me simply giving shelter to my brother. It tore me apart. It still, as you could tell from my voice. From there, things got much worse, and his depression overtook him. And recently, the year after, his wife passed away from medical issues, and it just got worse from there. When our brother then moved in with our other sister, he seemed to even out a little. She was more welcoming to our brother's wife, and they were able to visit all together until she passed away. As I said before, once she passed away, our brother sunk deeper into himself in depression, and none of us, any of the family, could reach him or talk to him. He locked himself away in his room, and it did not take long before our sister called to say rescue had been called due to our brother's excessive bleeding and vomiting. I got to their house within 20 minutes after the phone call, and rescue had just arrived. Our beloved brother looked scared, and I said, I will meet you at the hospital and we will fix you up as soon as you are home, I promise. He plainly stated, I'm not coming home. As he was transported from his chair to the gurney, I could see 2 to 3 inches deep of bright red blood where he sat. I knew in that very moment that he had succeeded in terminating his life on his own terms, just as he had told me months before. I cannot tell you the time frame because I had my daughter giving birth to my very first grandchild, and they simultaneously overlapped. But shortly getting home from the hospital, from being on top of the world with my sweet grandson's arrival, I got a call to dart to the hospital as our brother declined quickly. When I got to the ICU, I was greeted by a nurse who informed me I didn't make it in time, and he had passed shortly thereafter. All I could think of was he was right. He said he was never coming home, and he didn't. That's all I feel I have in me to share today. But there will be more to come about this, and we will hear from his children with their haunting tales and current hindsight that tortured them also. Please stay tuned.
As LJ shared, our brother did take his own life. It wasn't a quick action or a particular point in time that he died, but his actions ended in the same result. LJ shared with me a few months ago that our brother's death was a form of suicide. I didn't think too much about that statement at the time, but just a few weeks ago, a friend of mine told me they had recently lost a family member to alcohol abuse, and she made the same statement that it was a form of suicide. So hearing two people who don't know each other make the same statement has really had an impact on me. It made me look at things differently. As LJ also stated, there will be more to come on the hindsights and hurts caused from my brother's death. On upcoming episodes, two of my son's children, his daughters, will be sharing their stories of losing their father and how it's affected them in their life. And our oldest son, who was supposed to speak next week, has been called out of town, or actually out of state, for his job and will be gone several weeks. So I'm not sure exactly when he will be available to share his hindsights and hurts regarding the death of his brother. But that will also be coming up in upcoming episodes. And please, please share your stories with us. Comments, feedback, questions, anything that you have to share or to say, to get things off of your chest, to get things out, maybe get your emotions out, even if you're not talking with us personally, writing them sometimes will help tremendously to get things out of your head and onto paper. You can do that via our Facebook or Instagram, Hindsight Hurts, or email us at hindsighthurts@mail.com. You can remain anonymous. If you want to share your story and you want us to share your story, we will be more than happy to do that and keep you anonymous as well. And as usual, I just beg you, if you're having suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideations, to please, please, please call 988 to get help, advice, support, and anything that you may need in order to keep you from making a very horrible, terrible choice. Thank you very much.